All right, hello. So, another challenge. We'll just kind of jump right into this. The last challenge was pretty successful. We did the hand drawing challenge. We did 500 hands in 1 week. That was insane. A bit too much, but definitely learned from it. So I ended up getting more confident with drawing the hands. That was a really good thing. And I got a lot of tags and hashtags and all that I saw other people doing really well too. So that was really rewarding for me and them. So anyway, now we're going to do the challenge for drawing heads or portraits, whatever you want to call it. Me, for myself, I want to improve my range in drawing heads, like the different kinds of heads, different ages, different races, and all that stuff. But also to improve my sense of composition for drawing heads. So that's what we're doing here. And the idea is that you have 10 days, and it's much less than what we had to do with the hands. This is pretty much 10 heads a day. And the way we're doing this is one of the patrons, Danny, she helped me put together a Pinterest board of 100 different images of heads. And the idea is you have to draw 10 of them a day, as you can see on the screen here. Basically visit the link, the Pinterest board that should be in the description. And I'm doing it by starting at the bottom, and I'm just doing them in order from the bottom up. So basically, you don't have to do completed drawings. Some people are going to do them in color and painting. And again, it's for getting the wide range of faces and composition. I started this January 7th, so I have to finish a total of 100 by January 17th. And just for example, here is the Pinterest board. Going all the way down. We picked different things from just portraits and photos to dolls and sculptures. You can really learn a lot from sculptures, especially these cool orcs and whatnot. If there's images like this on the far right where there's multiple heads, feel free to either do all of them and each one counts as a head, or just pick one of them. So what Danny is doing, she already got a head start. She's doing these pretty cool paintings of them all. I think, these are just on the board. So yeah, definitely do that. And of course the hashtag for this is going to be 100 heads challenge. Anyway, what else did I want to say? So that was the Pinterest board. Oh, the supplies I'm using in this video. So you're going to see me sketching this in a moment in a time lapse. The supplies are on my Amazon page. And so it's these pencils, that sketchbook, and not much else. There's like a red mechanical pencil, but it's just red lead. And if you want to see the full, so here's the sketching video. If you want to see the full thing, because this is time lapsed, I do have it available on my store for $1. It wouldn't let me make it free because it was over a certain size limit. But so if you want that, and help another artist out, that'd be awesome. Link is also in the description. What else do I have on my notes? Yes. Okay. So having said that, I just want to have the video run, and now you should be seeing the actual drawing in time lapse. So I'll just try to cover a couple ideas and tips for if you're doing this. There are certain things that you can pay attention to when you're kind of going about, and especially at first, I wouldn't worry too much about trying to make them perfect. Instead, just let yourself go through it, and along the way, start noticing things. Specifically, try to pay attention to where the eyes, nose, and mouth locations are. Depending on the face, they will be either closer together or further apart, and they're going to have different ratios, especially depending on the age or gender. So that's definitely something that really helps by noticing patterns. Like, oh, I drew these 5 heads, and it seems like these group up to have eyes, nose, and mouth closer together, and some are further apart. And that ratio will start to help you vary the different types of heads that you can draw. So having said that, when you're doing shading, so if you're doing this in pencil like I am, I would say definitely pay attention to your reference. Like, look for the areas that have the most contrast, because you don't want to shade really dark, like close to black, in areas that it shouldn't be, right? Not that you have to follow rules or anything. Try to be as loose as possible with this in terms of, having mileage, not necessarily trying to do awesome work in the beginning. But for the shading, what I would recommend is shading most of it with a 50% gray, then sort of quote unquote sculpt in the darks, as if you're pushing and pulling the clay of the sculpture in and out. So if you're putting dark value, it's like you're pushing into the clay. And then you could also use the eraser to kind of pull out the highlights, like as if you're painting light onto it. So what else? Feel free to go rogue. So since there's really no judges or rigid rules, I wouldn't hesitate to get creative. Like, feel free to make different decisions. For example, you could make it cartoony or stylized or stretched and pulled and whatever. As long as you're doing 100 of these, I promise you'll learn something. Even if you feel like someone will say that it doesn't count and it's not valid for whatever stupid reason, like, oh, it's got to be academic and perfectly measured, like, shit, who cares? Just jump right into it, do the challenge, see what happens. And you're not really serving them. You're serving yourself in a way, looking forward to the outcome. I recommend not evaluating the first 20 or 30 because you'll find a lot of flaws. I would say do the 100, then start comparing your last 10 to your first 10. So that would be the better way to look at it. Also, if you're doing this, we're artists, we're all human. We might feel anxious or anxiety if you're going to jump into something where you have a daunting task in front of you. And there are certain things that might make the anxiety worse, like looking at other people's work. And it's totally okay to be inspired by others' work, other artists. But if you feel intimidated and straight up discouraged, because you end up comparing where you are to what they have, and you're like, well, they're so much better, blah, 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 and mine isn't as good as fast, and this person's younger, whatever the thing is. I recommend instead to just compare where you are now to where you were a week ago. And in this case, with this challenge, give yourself the first 10 so that on your 20th one, you can look back. On your 30th one, you can look back to the 20th, etc. It's just a much better strategy for improvement, because I think comparing yourself to other people and feeling horrible about yourself is actually not a good strategy. That'll just make you stop, right? However, some people see other great work and they're just inspired, like, oh, that's awesome, I'm going to go with the flow and ride the lightning. That's perfectly fine too. If you do feel that intense amount of pressure to make it good, try to remember it's really not about that. It's just about the mileage. The whole point is just seeing the end results. And maybe you do 100, maybe after you finish those, try another 100, or maybe do 50 of them and do 10 of them from imagination. Just kind of things like that, instead of putting, I guess, criteria of, oh, it has to be good right away. Try to drop that. So yeah, if you fear that whole being judged for not having amazing work, or that you're going to be rejected or by the world, again, don't worry about it. Try to forget making your art as some kind of currency to be accepted by others. Try to connect with the part of you that enjoys drawing art, that enjoys scribbling, kind of like that whole childhood wonder that we all had when we were younger. So also check out Proko's video. I think it's a recent one called something about automatic drawing. I'll have to look it up, but I watched it and it's really good. And it's this idea that, as a warm-up, I think he was interviewing one of his older teachers who had worked with Mobius. And Mobius would kind of just have a piece of paper in front of him and not think, and just put the paper on the pencil, and whatever happens without trying to force it to be anything. And you're kind of just scribbling and letting it reveal itself to you. And in a sense, it's an automatic drawing and you're not controlling it. In a way, part of you is, but it kind of loosens you up and frees you up. And I think that is the kind of feeling and mindset that you ought to be in when you're doing this kind of art, at least for part of it, because, you know, certainly there's a part that you have to be analytical, like I said earlier, pay attention to where the values are, pay attention to where the eyes, nose, and mouth are. But I think in the end it's going to be a balance to avoid that rigidity. And I feel like I just laid down a whole bunch of do this, do that, should not, should do this, and whatever. But yeah, I think just jumping into it, seeing what happens, and reaping the benefits. That's all I have written. So that's pretty much what all I have to say about this. It was definitely a short video. Hope it was helpful, and I do hope to see the hashtag. What is the hashtag again? 100 Heads Challenge. I look forward to seeing that pop up in my feed. I'll be looking out for that. And I myself look forward to also leveling up. So here's to that. Got anything to add, Kyle?
Good luck, work hard, and try to avoid sleeping if you can. Just keep on working, push through it.
Don't listen to it. That's very... Got my buddy Kyle visiting for a couple days. It's nice to have company, it really is. Anyway, good luck. Have fun with this. Later everyone.